Hi, my name is Sunita. Welcome to my channel today. This is real life English where you get to learn about real everyday English topics. Things that we use every day. So everyone is talking about the coronavirus. This is something really big that's happening around the entire world right now. And I thought it would be good to have a lesson about it and learn a bit of English vocabulary and maybe the way that we can talk about it in English. So the first thing that I need to mention is that the coronavirus, or should I say the word coronavirus, is actually a group name for the kind of virus that we are seeing. Its real name, or the name that it's been given, is actually COVID-19. To give you an idea of other viruses or diseases that are quite similar to the COVID-19, maybe you've heard of SARS, MERS, the flu, colds. I'm pretty sure you've heard about those last two at least. These kinds of viruses are what we call benign. Okay, so when I say benign, if you're a little bit confused, what I really mean, looking at our first word for today, when we call something benign, we mean that it is normally harmless. They're not so serious, or they are not as dangerous as other kinds of diseases like cancer, right? Which can be pretty serious, which is not a laughing matter, may I add. To talk a little bit more about COVID-19, you've probably heard people say that this virus is contagious. Okay, so what do I mean by contagious? This seems like a very difficult word, but it isn't. It really just means when something is contagious, it has the ability to go from one person or thing to another. Now, normally we talk about contagious with people and animals, all right? Living things, okay? A chair can't be contagious. So normally we will describe people who have a specific disease that can spread from that person to another person. We will say they are contagious. Now, we know what it means to be contagious. So what does it mean when you have the disease? You've now come in contact with someone who's got the COVID-19 or the cold or the flu, and maybe you're not showing any symptoms, right? Maybe you have this disease, but you're not actually sick because of the disease. This is what we call a carrier. And what this really means is somebody who has caught the virus, right, from a contagious person, right, but isn't necessarily showing the symptoms. Those people we would normally call a carrier. If you get the disease and you have the symptoms, you would just be infected, like a zombie. Okay. No, I'm only kidding. It's nothing like that. So if you come into contact with somebody who has the COVID-19, they are contagious. They may or may not be showing any symptoms. If they do not show any symptoms, we normally call them a carrier. You know, like you take your bag and you carry it, right? It's like you're carrying it with you everywhere, but it's not necessarily impacting you personally, right? You're not showing any of those symptoms. Another thing to talk about is that correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a doctor, but I believe that all diseases that are contagious have what we call an incubation period. All right, so I'll say that one more time for you. Incubation period. And what that really means is just that there is a time period from when you get the disease to when you may or may not show the symptoms. Now, it's been confirmed, or at least I've seen in the news and in articles, that the COVID-19 incubation period is, on average, about 5 days, right? It could be longer, it could be shorter. It does depend on the individual person. So what do you do when you think you might have the COVID-19 virus? Well, this is normally what we'd call quarantine. I'm sure you've heard of cities being shut down, locked down, of people being sort of told to stay at home and not go anywhere, and of people who are maybe showing some symptoms who are being kept in special areas that they cannot leave, right? And this special area is what we call quarantine. So in other words, you might be put in a special place that you cannot leave and that nobody else can come into without wearing the proper equipment to avoid getting infected, because remember, it's very contagious. If you are quarantined, it means that normally you shouldn't actually leave the space that you're in. So in other words, quarantine means to keep someone in their little bubble. All right, so to stay in your bubble and not leave your bubble, all right, and not let anybody else come into your bubble is what we mean when we say quarantine. That would be another word that we might use when we're talking about the COVID-19 sort of disease that's happening at the moment. Just to go over the words that we have touched on today, the first word that we looked at was benign. So, or should I say benign? Let's make sure we say that in a way that sounds right. Benign, and we could say something like, I got a dog to protect me, but he's very benign. So if something is happening to me, I'm probably going to die because he's harmless. Then we also spoke about contagious, meaning that something is very easily spread from one person to another, like a kid with an ice cream, that stuff gets everywhere. Okay. When we talk about contagious, we mean that you have something that you can give to other people willingly or not willingly, hopefully not willingly, and normally that will cause them to get sick. Okay. We also looked at the word carrier, and again that means like somebody who has been assigned to carry something from one place to another, but this thing doesn't necessarily impact them when they have it. So that would be a carrier. All right, then we also talked about, this is an English lesson, we talked about the incubation period. This is the time from when someone gets the disease to when they may show symptoms of the disease. Okay, so that would be the incubation period, the waiting time, you know, when you're sitting at the doctor waiting for your results and you just don't know what he's going to say. All right, and we also covered the word quarantine, and again, that just means to put yourself in a little bubble and under no circumstances come out of the bubble. Right, so I know the COVID-19 virus has everybody really worried and stressed, and that's completely understandable. There is no cure, but you can prevent the disease. And some of the recommended ways of doing that is, number one, washing your hands is a really big thing that you can do for the COVID-19 virus and for any other type of coronavirus like the flu or the cold. Wash your hands regularly with soap or an alcohol-based cleaner and you should be good. Try avoid touching what we call the T-zone, which is the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, all right? Especially if you've gone out or you're not at home or don't have access to a place or something that you can wash your hands with. Try and avoid touching your face just in general, and that might prevent the disease from being spread. If you do go out in crowded areas, please be careful. Another thing that's been recommended is try not to travel to any of the infected areas around the world. Now I know that isn't as easy as said as done, but if you can avoid it, rather do. So we've spoken a little bit about the disease, some terms that you can use, as well as prevention techniques. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson today, this bite-sized lesson. Yeah, I know, I probably shouldn't do that again. But thank you for joining me today. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in knowing how you can help me, please look at the description below. And thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
My name is Tanita and welcome. Kitty. Okay, this channel is all about, and my cat is eating. Sweetie, like zombies or brains. Brains.